I want to finish the thought on the last video I was making about what was the last video about? Find the light, Og. It wasn't about Og at all, but Og referenced the person who posted this musing, and I was responding to her assertions about spiders and eggs. So someone asked me to finish the thought that I had about the Inception deal, and I think I was talking about it was a 4400 scene near the end of the series, I think. So every one of the 4400 has a certain and very specific power. They don't have multiple powers. Well, some of them do, like Isabel had multiple powers. But most of them have only one power. And this particular person's power was he was able to incept himself into one layer deeper, one dimension deeper, I suppose you could say, and create a copycat reality. So it's sort of like a dream state, but when you're in there, you don't know that it's a dream state unless you know, kind of like that. So there was one episode where all of the people in the show, right? Not all of the people in the show, lots of the main characters woke up to the, it was like an FBI, I forgot what they named it in the show, NTAC, National Threat Assessment Center, I think is what it is. So they all woke up in the NTAC building, which is kind of like an FBI or equivalent building in this reality. And they just, that was how the episode started. They all just woke up. Whoever was in there were like 5 or 7 people in there. And they all had to like find each other in the building, but all the exits to the building were closed and locked, and the emergency system was blaring. The heads, you know, the managers weren't there. The heads of security were not there. It was just the sort of employees, the stars of the show, were all in there, stuck in there, right? And the blast doors were closed, and they had no access to get outside. One of the computer programmer, the IT guy was there as well, and he was unable to get into the system to shut down the emergency lockdown part of it. So they were just stuck in the NTAC building, and they were also stuck in there with a person in the show that had not, his character had not been developed very much, and we didn't know him very much. Everyone else in there was very well developed character, but this one man or guy was not. And so the building started acting quirky. The building itself started acting quirky. So they were trying to find ways out, and one of the female characters, she was working with an elevator shaft, I think it was, like an elevator door that was locked. And she was saying, you know, I can hotwire this just like you would hotwire a car. And the guy was like, okay, well, you know, what do you need, a screwdriver, or you need some tools, a pliers, something to get the cover off of it to start messing with the wires or whatever. So he helped her find tools, and she did. She got it open. happened. Like the door shut down. She got it open, and right as they were about to walk through the door, I think the door slammed shut and it locked again. And some police activity over here, some FBI, some NTAC activity. Anyway, so she's like, okay, I guess I'll just do it again. And she started, you know, messing with the box again, and she got zapped. She got shocked, and she just died, right? And then in another section, or in another part of that particular episode, some wind came howling through the hallways, and it just started getting extremely, it was like a storm was going on inside the building. And then another of the main characters had a window implode on him and just had shards going through his body, right? And he died. So people started dying in there, and it turned out that the guy who I was saying before, and I'm not saying names because I actually don't remember names for the most part. I think I said one name, and that was Isabel. For the most part, my brain is wired to not remember anything more than absolutely necessary. So I don't remember most names, but I remember what happened for the most part. And the guy that I was saying was an undeveloped character in the series, it turns out he came up to the remaining survivors and he said, hey guys, I think I know what's going on. And he probably knew what was going on the entire time, but he was just too sissy to tell them. But he's like, this is my power, as I can create, you know, a world, and I can bring specific people into it that I want to bring into it with me. So that's what he did. He used his power to create this simulation NTAC building, and he did do it for a purpose. He didn't just do it for no reason. He did it because the leader of the 4400s and NTAC itself were warring against each other, right? So there's a big conflict because the rest of the society doesn't have powers, and this 4,400 people, this 4,400 people that came back when this ball of light kidnapped them, they came back with powers. So as you can imagine, the rest of the population is going to be unhappy about that. So where was I? So the guy that created this little subset reality did it for the purpose of bringing the head of NTAC, or at least one of the main people in NTAC, to Jordan. His name is Jordan Collier. See, I can't remember names. So Jordan Collier is the Jesus-looking guy that is the head of the 4400, and the other guy that works for NTAC is the representative of NTAC, or, you know, I don't know if there's a good guy, bad guy. The show doesn't really sort of try to paint it as one is better than the other, but that's how it is. And the guy that set this up wanted them to talk to each other because in so-called real life, they hated each other and they were trying to start wars because they, you know, same old shit. But it turns out that the only way in that particular subset reality that guy was able to create, the only way out of it is if he himself finds the furthest point from the center and exits whatever door is there. That will exit everyone from that subset reality. And he went and tried to do that, and the door closed on him and smushed him, right? Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched this show. And everyone should watch this show, it's very good, along with Travelers. So the door smushed the guy that was hosting the subset reality. Now, that begs a lot of questions, such as how could these other people who were in his self-created reality possibly stay in that if the main person who's holding it within his own mind has died within that dream? But somehow they managed to stay in there. It didn't just bleep out, and they didn't just return back to where they, were before he sucked them into his dream. They were still in there. And the only known method of getting out of those, which was what he said himself, was for himself to go to the furthest exit inside of the building. That was no longer a viable method to try, so they had to figure out something else. And they did. The two guys that were fighting eventually decided that well the building was weaponized. That's what it was. The building itself was trying to kill them for whatever reason. It was just a plot twist. I don't think the building was aligned with one side or the other. It was trying to kill everyone that was inside of it. It just was like pissed off the people who were up in there. It's like trying to just shit them out somehow. So the building wanted to kill all the people inside of it, and they were like, well, if we short circuit this building and just blow this shit up, then we'll probably have to exit the dream. And because the building, it was manipulating the electronic devices inside of itself, like fans or doors or air systems, etc., cooling, heating systems. It was manipulating those electronical things inside of itself in order to attack people. So their grand idea was, we're gonna short circuit this whole building and just basically wake up at that point. Hopefully, like that was their hope. So they did. They found the breaker room, and they didn't have enough cord, of course. So these two guys had to complete the circuit with their bodies in the center of it, and it was symbolically, a feel-good, let's solve a problem together type of thing. So they grabbed hands and it basically blew up, and then everyone returned back to where they were before the dude had sucked him up into his little subset reality. And then that dude in the real reality went to jail. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was so surprising, because I know we have a bunch of multi-dimensional bullshit going on in this reality, guaranteed. But the law system tries to pretend that only, face surface value things are happening here. So the fact that in that show, their reality was open-minded enough to try and convict this person for making a dream NTAC place and basically kidnapping these NTAC authorities to come into his dream. I thought that was really interesting subplot inside of the overall narrative. The story of that 4400 is very trippy, and it's also, I think, it's good to show ways to this reality, and that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to think of ways to bring some awareness to this reality without everyone's minds melting down and people dying and all that kind of stuff, because it's too much if you try to look at it all at once. So that's what happened, and I was just going to liken that weaponized reality to this one. That's what this reality feels like if you are wishing to get up on out reality tries to attack you. That's what this reality kind of feels like sometimes when you're trying to let people in on the little secret that, you know, something's going on here and that this is not just ordinary. Then the reality itself will try to attack you. And I don't think that's because the reality itself is weaponized per se here. I think rogue AI has a lot to do with why things look so weird, especially in geopolitics. And just regular AI. Their presence has changed the landscape completely. Even if there was no sentient AI, I'm sure there is. I'm virtually certain there is sentient AI, but if there was not, even just the AI as it is changed everything. I think that's about it. That's the completed story. I got things to do, so thanks for listening and hanging out, and I'll see you next time. Peace!